Hello, dear colleagues. My name is Daria Maltseva, and I'm very happy to welcome you from the past. Today is June 15, and I'm recording my video for our section on scientific networks. Just a second, let me share my screen. Yeah, this is the section on scientific networks, understanding various research fields, which is organized jointly by me and my colleague from the International Laboratory for Applied Network Research, Dmitry Zaitsev. And I welcome all the participants of the section and all the people who decided to join us and to listen to our presentations. Thank you very much for your attention. My presentation is the joint work with Vladimir Batagelj, professor of the University of Ljubljana and High School of Economics. And this is devoted to the field of Imetrics, the so-called the development of the discipline with many names. What are these names? Let's look. So there are different research traditions which are specialized in the analysis of structure, properties of information and communication. And here on this slide, you can actually see the titles of some of these research traditions. So they are Scientometrics, Bibliometrics, Infor, Libra, Cyber, Webo, and Altmetrics. And the coexistence of different research traditions and their instrumental and interdisciplinary character and the rather short period of the development of the whole field makes it to be called a discipline with many names. And in our study, we use the term Imetrics, which was proposed by Milojevic and Leidersdorf in 2013. And they proposed it originally for 4 metrics in information science, which are Biblio, Sciento, Infor, and Webometrics. However, we decided not to produce any new terms and just to use this Imetrics term as an umbrella term for all possible metrics in this field. In our work, we look at the following research questions. We want to identify the main trends of the field's development and its evolution through time. And we want to represent the field's core, just like to look at the important works which represent the theoretical and methodological backgrounds of the field, main topics and scientific ideas and connections between them, and to look at the most prominent scientists and journals. And as the source of data, we use Web of Science core collection. And so we all know this database. And we had the following search query. Based on the previous studies, we decided not only to include the metrics themselves, but also to include some queries which identify some topics which are often described and discussed in this field, in the studies in this field. They are Hirsch index and co-authorship networks, co-citation analysis, bibliographic coupling, and also some special types of laws like Zip law, Bradford law, Lotko's law. And so we used the following query, and I should say that we especially focused on the Web of Science core collection, because in core collection, in the description, for the works which are included to the core collection, the records of these works include a special field which we are very much interested in. This is this CR field, which shows the citations, which are the references which are given by each work. And we are very much interested in it because we want also to look at the citation networks between the works. And talking about data, there can be 2 types of works, and some of them are works with complete description, and we call them hits. And some works are cited only, and they do not have this full description in a collected data set, and they appear only as this CR field as a reference. So they have very short description, and we call them terminals. And as some of these works, which are terminals, can be cited a lot, so we additionally looked at the most cited works, which didn't have description, and they were 390 works with at least 50 citations. And we constructed full description for such terminal works. And so they also became hits. And we used Web of Science or Google to extract this information for these works. And the data was collected in July 2019, and this was in the framework of the summer school that we conducted in the laboratory, and the school was especially devoted to the bibliometric network analysis. And the number of hits that we finally obtained was a little bit more than 23,000 of works. And then we used the program, which is called WOS2PIC, to construct different types of networks. And one of them is Citation Network. This is the network which shows the citation, citations between the works. And then we also constructed three two-mode networks. These are the authorship network of works and authors, and then the journalship network of works and journals, and also the network of works and keywords. And also we obtained the following partitions: the partition of year of works when the work is published, and also the partition which distinguish between works with complete description and the works which are cited only. And these partitions helped us to produce different types of networks, and so they kept this important information. This slide is devoted to the names, how the names of the works are preserved in our data. So here we can see the line. The first line shows the example of the description of this name in how it appears in CR field. So you can see Garfield 1985, signed to Imetrics, V7, which is volume 7, and page 487. This is the first page of the publication. However, in this field, same works can be written a little bit differently. So to improve these names, and just to get the more precise names, we used the short names which are supported in WOS2PIC, and they have the following format. So we have 8 characters of the surname, then first character of the name, then in brackets we would have the year of publication, then it would be volume of the journal, and then the first page. And from the last names, all the prefixes and some strange characters are deleted, and so this helps us to lower the differences between between the same in cases when the same works are written a little bit differently. So we use these names as the codes of the works in our data. So we had a little bit more than 23,000 of hits, as I said, and we obtained basic networks, which are shown in this table on this slide. However, for the terminal works, only partial information is provided. So we have only information on the first author. So that's why we constructed reduced networks, which contained only works with complete description. And the sizes of these networks are shown here. So you can see one mode network site, citation network, and then two mode networks of works and journals, works and authors, and keywords. And here the mode 1 is the number of works, and the mode 2 is the number of, for two mode network, the number of journals, the number of authors, and the number of keywords. And in both cases, the number of keywords is the same. So let's look at some of the results. Here on the slide, you see the main journals which are obtained from the two networks, the full network, journals which are used in all publication. You can see it on the left, and the reduced networks, the network of journals which are used only in hits. This is on the right. The journals which are on Imetrics field are marked in bold, and you can see that for the two lists, the Citation journal is on the top. What is interesting that on the left we can see a lot of quite a lot of journals from the journals which are general scientific journals such as Nature and Science and Proceedings of National Academy of Science. Then we have a journal from medicine and biology, and also here we can see some journals of research policy. Interestingly, if we look on the right side of this table, we can see much more journals which are marked in bold. It means that they are in Imetrics topic, Imetrics field. And among the general scientific journals, we can see the journal PLOS ONE, which was established just not such a long time ago. And also it's interesting to find the journals from physics, like Physica A, and also from computer science, you can see here. And this is due to the interest of the representatives of these disciplines to collaboration networks and co-authorship network or citation network, which is quite interesting for us. Okay, let's now look at the main keywords. So these are the keywords which are used more often in our data. And again, we marked the Imetrics keywords with in bold. And we can see that the top word is bibliometric, and then also we can find scientometric. And interestingly, we do not see other metrics in top 50 and even top 100 words which are used. So bibliometric and scientometric are kind of main titles, main names. Then also we can see the words citation, impact, Bradford, collaboration, zip, H, which is H index. So the words which are connected to Imetrics. Then in blue, we colored the, let's say, general terms which are used, which can be, I mean, they are in general, they can be used in different disciplines. However, here we can see that these are the topics which are analyzed in the field. So this is science, scientific journal, publication, index, indicator, performance. So they're not really special words, but they show the topics which are highlighted in the studies in this field. And then in gray, you can also see some generic words which are really they can be found in any research. So this analysis, research, study, information, factor, model. So they are not unique for the field of study. Now let's look at the number of authors. Here on the slide, you can see the percentages of number of authors. And just to say, so this red line is 1, then we can see 2 authors, 3 to 5, and more, and 6 and more. And this percentages are shown in temporal dimension from 1980s to 2020s, 2018 actually. Interestingly, we can see that the number of single authored papers reduced significantly from 1980s. So it was about 50% and now it is about 10%. Then the number of papers written by two authors, by pairs of authors, it decreased from 30% to 20%. And then the amount of the percentages of the share of papers written by 3 to 5 and 6 and more authors decreased significantly through this time, which can also be due to the inclusion, due to the coming of authors from other different disciplines to the field. And for example, for natural sciences, it is quite a common practice to include many authors, as many who worked at the study, to the list of authors. And so this can be due to different practices in different fields as well. Then let's look at the contribution, number of works and collaborativeness of the authors in this field. These values, which we can see now on the table, are obtained through the analysis of the normalized network of co-authorship, which takes into account the input of an author to the paper. So if an author has, if the paper is written by, like, let's say 2 authors, then the input, the contribution of each author would be 50%. And so this normalized network takes this contribution into account. And so that's why the total contribution is not really the same as the total number of works, as you can see from these 2 columns. And using this metrics, we can also count the collaborativeness of authors, which is the percentages of papers written in collaboration with others. And so these values are shown here on the third column. And the whole table is ranked according to the total contribution of the authors. So what we can see is that the table has a lot of very well-known names in the field, in Scientometrics, Bibliometrics, Artmetrics. And the collaborativeness index can be different. So it varies from author to author. And for some authors who has a high total contribution to the field, it is pretty small, so pretty low. Like here you can see for Iggy, it is just 13%. And then for some authors, they have different strategy. They work in collaboration and they have quite large values of collaborativeness with others. And so these authors, these values are marked in bold again. So, and we can see that there are quite a lot of such authors among the top 50 authors. This is the distribution of works by years, and this is from, this is for the whole data, the whole period that we have. And we can see that from 1950 till 2013, it actually follows the exponential model, and the values which we obtain show that the number of works doubles every 8 years. The number of works in the field. Now let's look at the results of the citation network analysis, and here is just the simple measures of the most cited works, and we just extracted 30 top works, and you can see that the most cited work is the work of Hirsch, written in 2005, and it has more than 2,000 citations. This is for Hirsch index. However, the majority of the works which we find in this paper are namely 28, are published before 2000s. And this actually shows that the field is rooted in really old works, let's say. And the majority of these works are not books, they are articles published in journals, which is also an interesting observation. Otherwise, we can see very many surnames which we know from this field, like Small and Zip and Lotka, as they are famous mathematical models, and Garfield, Iggy, and Price, and some other well-known names, including Newman, for example, who is actually from network science. And also we can see the name of Stanley Wasserman and the book of social network analysis, and Steve Bargatti used CNET for Windows software, special software for social network analysis. And we guess that this is due to the interest to social network analysis as a tool of exploration of the analysis of citations and co-authorship in this in this type of studies in the field, which is quite interesting as well. And now we will move to the analysis of citation network, which is a little bit more complex and yeah, which is more complex. So in our network, we had this amount of nodes, almost 500,000 nodes. And this is a very large and sparse network. And to obtain the bounded network, we decided to remove all the works which are cited only and have in degree smaller than 4. So it means that in our data set, reduced data set, we decided to preserve only those works which are hits. So they are found by our search query, plus those works from the cited only group of works, which were cited 4 times at least. And so this resulted in a network which had 42,000 of nodes. And then for the analysis which we implement, the network should be acyclic, and that's why we applied the preprint transformation function. So you can actually see this, how this function works on the slide. So for each, if we have 2 works citing each other, then we make kind of preprints for them. And then it turns out that each work cite preprint, but not, they do not cite each other. And in this case, the network becomes not cyclic anymore, and it is acyclic, and that's why we can apply our search pause algorithm. And you can see a picture showing how it works on the left. And actually the idea of this search pause count algorithm is that it, in a regional network, all the values between the nodes are equal to 1. But according to this algorithm, it determines for each arc the weight, which is equal to the probability that a random path if it goes through the network, it passes through some arc. So it is the probability that some arc will be on the way if we will go from one work which is published not long time ago to the oldest work, to the terminal. So if it will go like on this picture from up to down, so then different line weights would be assigned to different weights, different lines, and then we can think about it as the like river and different streams, and some of them would be wider than others, and so this would mean that these paths are important. And we then identified main paths, K roads, and main island on this network. which has these different line weights. And this is the result. I'll try to zoom a little bit, and I hope that actually now it would be much better seen that during a regular presentation, because you see this video from the screen. And here you can see the results which we obtained. And this is the result, the structure which is obtained through the implementation of main pass algorithm. This is on the left. In the middle, there would be the structure of main pass. So, wait, I'm sorry, from K roots, which means actually that it doesn't say to find only one skeleton, only one main pass, but it allows to find some branches. So like some movements from the main pass, and also include these works to the total structure. And then we also used the the general islands approach, and we extracted the main component of the works which are connected to each other more strongly than to other works. And these are these 200 works which are shown on the right. And we also visualized them in temporal dimension. So here down, there are the works which are published earlier, and then the algorithm goes to the works which are published the youngest works in our data set. So here, for example, 2019. And what we did, we extracted the descriptions of these works, and then we manually looked very precise to each of them, to the description of these works, their titles, and the we found the information and the journals where they published, and it helped us to identify some topics which appear, which prevail in some periods of time in the field under study. So now I will move to the slide, and so it will be just better seen. So that we found that the field is rooted on early works of mathematicians who proposed different laws and distributions, such as Bradford, Deeb, Mandelbrot, and they are used as a background in Imetrics studies, and they are published in 1940s, 1950s, and so they long time ago. And starting from the 1970s and up to the 1990s, the most prominent works are on the topics of citation and co-citation analysis. However, it is interesting that from the beginning of the 90s, we find a second topic, which is the nomination of the field. So the field starts proposing some names for itself. So it starts with bibliometrics and informametrics and webometrics, and then arithmetrics in early 2000s. And then from the middle of 2000s, the topic of citation impact evaluation appears, and which is the discussion of H-index and various modifications of this index. And then later, the webometrics and arithmetic studies proposes their indices, which are kind of based on this H-index idea. And they also propose some new types of data which can be taken into account to count these measures of productivity of publications and individuals. And then also some topics appear on the way, let's say. There's collaboration network analysis in the beginning of 2000s, and different data basis comparison, which are Google Scholar, for example, in 2010s. And if you look at the main island more precisely, we can actually get some deeper understanding of the topics of these main trends and main topics which appeared in the field. We can find more bibliometric laws in 1980s. This would be price law, Pratt measure, and so on. And then, and at the beginning of 2000s, we can see that there are many works on webometrics which are based on websites and deeper links usage for evaluation of research. And then there are works on topic of Imetrics, which use Mendeley or Twitter or social media to evaluate scientists. And also we extracted the topic of science mapping, which is quite intensively used, and also some special introduction of software. And then the topic of H-index is really very well presented, starting from 2005. Very many various types of this index. And interestingly, if we put together all these works which are obtained for main pass, K-roads, and main islands algorithms, then the majority of works are articles. And there are 2012 papers and 2012 works, and 4 of them are books. And most of these works are published in 3 journals, JASIST, Journal of Informatics, and Scientometrics. And also there are some other journals such as Journal of Documentation and Journal of Information Science, which are relatively important as well. And also in the early years, these main journals would be Journal of Documentation and Social Studies of Science and Library Trends and General Scientific Journals. Later, the specialized journals become more frequent sources, while at the beginning they were these types of outlets. So let's finish with some discussion and conclusions. Just to say again that starting from the 1950s, the field has grown significantly. And on average, the field doubles every 8 years, so it grows. And we observed the trend towards high collaboration in the field. And we extracted the most prolific authors, and they're from different kind of subfields, different metrics, scientometrics and bibliometrics, informatics and webometrics, and so on. And there are 3 main journals, which are already, I just pronounced them, Scientometrics, JASIST, and Journal of Informatics. And if we look at the journals most used by hits, they would take just 16% of publications, even though it is quite a lot. But for the most important works, these 212 works, their shares form 48%, which is almost half. Almost half of these most important works, which we identified, are published in just 3 journals. And talking about keywords, we can see the dominance in usage for the keyword bibliometric, and then with some lag scientometric. And this was actually shown in previous studies. And we can say, according to the analysis of the Citation Network, that the field is grounded on the early works of mathematicians. And in the period of 1960-1970, there were classical books and articles published, which provide the theoretical basement for Imetrics. And for 70-90s, their most prominent works are devoted to citation and co-citation analysis, bibliographic coupling, and then from the middle of 2000s, the topic of citation impact evaluation appears, this H-index metric and some alternatives of it. And interestingly, from the 1990s, the field starts to denominate itself, just to propose some names. We also identified topics of collaboration networks, bibliographic databases, and software on the way. Here's the bibliography which was used in this presentation. And so thank you very much for your attention. And I hope to see you at the questions and answers session of our section on July 9th, as if I'm correct. I think I am. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. You can just simply write to me and we can discuss some things. Okay, goodbye. And we have to stop it. Pam pam.